Hey guys, it's So from So's Real Thoughts. I'm here with Kristen from Sales on Film, and we went to AFI FEST and watched a ton of great movies. And one of them was Mia Hansen-Løve's Eden, which is about
DJs. It's about French electronic music, and it's sort of like a 20-year history of
the French touch.
Yeah, the French touch, or like what they call French house. I don't really know anything about like electronic music, so I guess if you don't know anything about electronic music, this movie will sort of take you step by step through it. And it's Mia Hansen-Løve wrote this with her brother Sven, who is or was a DJ, and it's kind of his story. So the protagonist, whose name is Paul, you see him from like when he is in high school to like when he's in his 30s. And it goes from like, I guess, like the mid-90s, 1994 to like 2014.
Yeah, okay.
Right, that's 20 years.
Yeah, that's 20 years.
And I guess if you don't know anything about electronic music, probably the only thing you do know is Daft Punk, who are French, and they play themselves in this movie, which is kind of funny, like a funny little in-joke. And so there are like a lot of like real characters, I guess, from the French house scene that sort of like play themselves or like versions of themselves, and it's pretty autobiographical, I guess. But I have to say I didn't really dig this movie. For me, I have to also say that I'm not familiar with Mia Hansen-Løve's previous films. I haven't seen them. I mean, I've heard of her, but I haven't seen any of her other work, and I don't know how like typical this is of her. Maybe you could.
Well, I had a chance to interview Mia, and this is why I had to watch some of her other works that I can get a hold of, which was Goodbye First Love, which is on Netflix. And I really liked that she took very unremarkable moments in a person's life, and she really goes through their emotions, passions, kind of their journey in a very long period of time. I think Goodbye First Love took maybe 10 years.
Oh, it covered 10 years?
10 years. And so she kind of takes the same and uses that for Eden, which takes 20 years, and it's focused on Paul, who is very passionate about the electronic music scene, but because of time and evolution of music,
and also his
business is not actually...
But also his own personal problems.
Yes.
I mean, like, I guess basically everything that happens in, like, a music biopic basically happens to this guy. You know, he has, like, problems with women and keeping girlfriends. He develops a drug problem. Like, he's in debt. He can't, you know, he's
but it's one of those
on
films that, like, it's not, the drama isn't heightened. It just kind of gradually happens. And so unless you want to experience it firsthand without all, like, you know, the portrait of a DJ being all like a 24-hour party fest, if you want that, this is not the movie for you. This is mostly a first-hand kind of going through step by step of what it feels like to really be a DJ. It's pretty casual. It goes like in the day and in a life where it's
Yeah, the problem I had with the movie was it was just too casual. And, I thought that Paul actually was like extremely boring protagonist and really didn't have anything as a character to really like endear him to me or any little bit of charisma or anything that I could really latch onto. And So's right that the way that the movie, it's a very long movie, and you check in basically, you know, like every 2 years in his life, and his progression, if you can even call it that, is so gradual.
It's so gradual.
It's barely even there.
I mean, it's like, very subtly done, because you can't see the measure of his success in like the scenes. Obviously, it's more like what's going on in the exterior of his life.
Yeah,
not
it's almost
within.
as if everything and everyone around him is moving, but he's standing still the whole time. And that's emphasized by the fact that the same actor plays him for the whole movie, so for 20 years, and then like they don't really make a lot of effort
he doesn't really change
to age him. So like for a very long period of time, he looks somewhere like he's 20 years old. Like even when he's 15, he looks 20. Yeah. Even when he's supposed to be 30, he looks 20. Yeah. It's kind of weird, and they comment on that a little bit in the movie, but it has a very like strange sense of time. Mm-hmm. And I guess
it's supposed to be that he's basically stuck in this stage of his life.
He's a very arrested adolescent, kind of your typical like just like man child, like white boy that like can't get his shit together, and he has all these problems.
And I think I was talking to Mia about that. If his inconsistent love life is also attributed to his lifestyle and the music scene. And she was like, of course, definitely. I think it inhibits him from actually finding his, like, almost true love, because music is his true love.
Yeah, and I think so, yeah.
I think what I liked about it was, even though it does take his progression or journey very gradually, I think it's these small moments that are so trivial, and you're just kind of like with him through his journey, even though in no way am I able to relate to this type of character at all, but you get to see it in this like a sneak peek, or a sneak peek into his journey and just the scope of
it definitely is not, I mean, it definitely puts you right in there with him. It's just that I didn't find that very compelling, and I think the second aspect that made it very hard for me to get into this film is that it didn't make me love the music, or there was nothing really about the way that the club scenes were shot, or like any of those scenes were shot that like really sort of like brought me into it. I think actually that this movie is a lot about like detachment and how people like don't connect with each other. Even like in the scenes of the club scenes, there is sort of like a very purposeful distance between like the DJs and the people who are like enjoying the music. And even when like Paul's like dancing and smiling and being really happy, there is like a very like detached air about it. So I think for me it was just really hard to get into. I know that was like purposeful in the filmmaking, but there just like wasn't a lot for me to grab onto, and because the protagonist was so uninteresting, but it was so much about him, I was just like, I don't care. You know? I had similar problems with like Boyhood, which I would like compare this to.
Wow.
Because I think
I don't know.
I think so, because it's about like a maturation of like this boring like white guy who like doesn't really grow and is not really interesting, doesn't have any interests, can't really, you know. He's just there, and then like things are just happening to him, you know?
That's true. I mean, I guess I can see the comparison. It's just that in my head it would never actually come up, because I feel like they're completely different, totally different style of filmmaking, and what Mia's trying to achieve is obviously kind of different from what Linklater was.
Yeah, I mean, they're not exactly parallel, but just in terms of like how I didn't like really relate to the protagonist, and also like them, you know, being spanning a long period of time, and they are about sort of like the protagonist like artistic awakening, or about their love of, you know, life, and in Boyhood it's like photography, and in this one it's obviously like music. So, but I know that like most people really liked Boyhood, and I didn't. So I mean, it's kind of a sketchy analogy, I guess, for a lot of things. But yeah, I just couldn't get into it.
I mean, maybe this could be one of those films that you either love it or hate it. And personally, I mean, I'm not sure if I like loved it, but I appreciated so many things, especially a story like this where they don't take these fantasies of the DJ life and glamorize it in any way. It really is in its like raw form, unfiltered, kind of showing you what it feels like to be a DJ, and kind of go through the feels of dating around, doing drugs, and really being just going
from like having a residency at like a really hot club to like DJing somebody's like birthday party. Like the highs and lows are
there's
there.
Always a sense of loss, melancholia in her films, and I think you could see that again in here. And I feel that if you are a fan of her other work, you'll equally appreciate this film.
Yeah, or if you're a fan of electronic music, if you're a fan of like Daft Punk, that kind of music or that like house scene. It'll be interesting.
Yeah,
it'll be more interesting to you than it would to somebody else.
Well, definitely check out my interview that I did with Mia. I'll probably link it down below. And
it is a good interview, even though I didn't like it. It is a good interview.
Thank you. Be sure to check out Kristen's blog.
Yeah, salesonfilm.tumblr.com and at salesonfilm on Twitter.
And we'll be posting up way more reviews, so definitely check out those later. Bye.
Okay, bye.